Come on.
And our main speaker for this evening is Joe.
Wow, I've never had to raise up the microphone before. That's nice. My name is Joe Hudson. I'm an alcoholic. And, I want to thank Kyle for asking me to speak. It's always an honor and privilege to be asked to do anything in Alcoholics Anonymous. Even more. All right, is that better? I see and hear these little kids running around here, and so it's one of the best things I think I hear in Alcoholics Anonymous is little kids, because it means families are brought back together and united, and you don't see that a lot anywhere else, but I'm able to appreciate it now. I remember I was probably 6 months sober, and there was a baby in there crying, and I was sitting there going, I'm in a meeting, and I don't want to hear this baby. I'm trying, and someone comes up to me and goes, I was complaining about the meeting, and I was complaining about the baby, and the guy goes, that lady was going to get drunk if she didn't go to the meeting. And I was like, really? And he goes, I don't know. he goes, but that's the way it is in here, So it's always good to be back here. It's a little, I'm happy and sad at the same time. I moved away from here about 7 years ago, and I was partly hoping that AA would crumble without me. Apparently not, But, I grew up in Port Richey. I was born and raised here. I was two parents that were absolutely great people. I have an older brother and two younger sisters that are heroes of mine. And going through life, I come from an upper middle class family here, and I excelled in a lot of things. I excelled in sports, but I always felt a little bit different. I always felt a little bit off. I'd be sitting in a room and just things didn't feel right. Everybody would talk to me, or everybody would say hi to me, and I just didn't feel a part of. And when I got to middle school, you see all those guys that are walking around talking to girls, and they're popular, and I'm sitting there, a scared little kid, wondering what's going on. These guys are hip, slick, and cool, and I'm just scared to death. And that's probably my life is, I'm scared to death of everything. And I took my first trip. It was Christmas Eve, or Christmas Eve. My brother had a bottle of wine. We went out to a party. He was a senior in high school, and we go to college kids' house, and I drink half a bottle of wine, and there's it's a party, and there's girls there, and I'm able to talk to these girls, which was like I didn't understand how I could just sit there and talk to girls, and my life, it made sense. When I took a drink, something magical happened inside me that night. It just was, everything was okay. My life was okay. And I went to a different high school, and I started drinking. You're 14, 15 years old. How much alcohol can you really get? It's not like but every time I go through my freshman year going, man, I hope I can get drunk. What are we doing? Are we doing something this weekend? To my sophomore and junior year, it was, what are we doing this weekend? And to my senior year, it was, forget this weekend, let's get drunk now. I say, this is, I don't remember this a whole lot, but I got accepted to Florida State. I never applied there. It took me a long time. So I was born on third base, and for some reason I thought I had a triple to get there. Okay, I thought I did something, entitlement and all this stuff. So I thought I applied there. Apparently I did not. My mom told me later that no, you did not apply. Your dad filled out the application for you. He called people, and he You know, so I go up there, and at the time, Florida State's the number one party school in the country. They just written an article about them, and the number one party animal in the country was there. And so I get up there, and it was phenomenal. We went out on Thursday nights, got drunk. Friday night everybody was coming in for the game, so you get drunk then. Saturday you're tailgating, you get drunk then. Sunday football, NFL football, you get drunk then. Monday night football, you get drunk. Wednesday, another big night to go out, so you get drunk then. And you stretch Wednesday and Thursday, you know, you get and you can get drunk again. So at the end of this, I got a 0.7 GPA, 4 F's and a C minus, and you know, I'm a forgetter of things. Like I thought I applied. I thought I got a C minus in class. How I got the C minus, looking back, was my brother took my final for me, and so I passed that. And I come home from for winter break, and my dad says, "Hey, how'd you do?" And I said, I don't know yet, you know, I'm looking, and a day later he's like, "Hey, how'd you do?" I said, "Not so good," you know, and he goes, I told him, he goes, I'm glad you're having fun, but remember why you're there to get education. So now I'm going in with full force. My motto has always been anything worth doing is worth abusing, you know, so I'm going full force, and I make the dean's list, I get 3.8. Now, to be rigorously honest with you all, I took classes like theories and practice of football, coaching basketball. Baseball was a great class because it was baseball season, and so the baseball coach was not there half the time. You know, and I get a 3.8, I make the dean's list, and I'm hating life. There was a few nights when the baseball coach wasn't there that the big book talks about the sense of ease and comfort that comes at once with taking a few drinks you see others taking with impunity. And to me, it's a little bit before that. It's walking down Winn-Dixie's aisle, the beer aisle, and as soon as I grab the case of beer, the 2 cases of beer, 2 12-packs, whatever it is, that's when the sense of ease and comfort. That line to check out could be 40 people deep, and I'm okay. I know I'm going to be okay. And after that, I spent the next 4 years. I failed out of 4 universities, never received 1 credit hour, and went to live with the only people I could live with, and drive the only car that I could drive, and that's mommy and daddy's. You know, and I got a job with my dad, and at this time, I am a useless human being. I'm just there, I'm not doing anything. I just drink all day, I drink all night, I wake up. I didn't happen to be able to go to work, but when I say I went to work, I mean, yeah, I went there. I was like, it was like me going to college. I was enrolled, you know, I was there, I was doing no work, and for some reason, at this time, I was doing some shady stuff, and I bought a gun to protect myself. I lived with my parents. He lived in a gated community. Like someone gonna come right in. They have a guard that drives around, you know. And so I get it. You know, there are a few points in my life that you get that moment of clarity, and this is one of them. Is I was sitting there, and I always joke, you know, I mean, I stopped smoking 12 years ago. I still chew Nicorette gum, like it's going out of style. I can quit anytime I want. You know? And I had that moment of clarity that said, you know, Joe, I can't stop drinking. I cannot stop. And I had this gun, and I put it in my head, I'm not going to pull the trigger. I'm too scared to do it. And, but I put the gun in my head, and I'm thinking, you know, this isn't going to, I don't know what to do. Second moment of clarity happened just after that. I said, I can sell this gun. This money, go on another run. So it lasts about 3 more weeks. I'm driving again, and I'm driving home I'm driving to my parents' house one night, and I said, this isn't going to end well. I know that I cannot keep this up for a long period of time. This is, I'm 23 years old and my life's going down the tubes, and I can't make sense of it. My parents had an intervention with me, and they shipped me off to a rehab, and the 28-day program. I always say 4.5 months later, I walked out because I don't want to do anything. I'm lazy to the core. I just, but what happens in a 28-day program is, people start getting better real quick. And you start seeing people that have been there, they got there after you, and they're graduating and leaving the program. Not only that, you're seeing people who have been there, who got there 2 months, 3 months after you, and you're seeing them leave before you, and you're sitting there going, I'm not going to get out of here. And so they let me go. We went to this meeting, and one of the prerequisites, you have to have a sponsor. And like I said, I'm scared to talk to people. And asking someone to be your sponsor is like asking a girl on a first date. I'm scared you're going to say no. And so I meet a guy, and the guy goes, hey, how you doing? My name's Jimmy. I'm your sponsor. Whoa, easy does it. He goes, here's my number, call me. And I started calling him, and we started working steps, and I worked steps 1 through 7. I get a rehab, and I come back up to Port Richey, and like you were talking about earlier, when you walk in here, you have no idea what you're walking into. I don't know what I got to do, or who. Everybody's sitting there talking to people. I'm scared, and so after a couple months, I started learning the lingo, and I started doing something, and I caught a glimmer of hope. Is there was a time during that period where I didn't think about drinking, and I was like, well, this is, and one day I was sitting there going, hey, I haven't thought about drinking in a little bit. This is pretty nice, and at this time, I just come up here, and I'm going to meetings, and I start hearing stuff that well-meaning people said a lot of that I learned wasn't necessarily Alcoholics Anonymous. Like I said, I'm lazy to the core, and I misinterpret information. You have those slogans that say "easy does it." That's not good for me. Okay? All easy does it all day long. And meeting makers make it. Yes, meeting makers that work with steps make it. And I started misinterpreting things that I thought were Alcoholics Anonymous. And 18 months sober, I have a bottle of sake in one hand and a knife in the other, and I'm ready to slip my wrist or drink. Because here's the sad fact that I experienced was I knew alcohol no longer worked. Every day I woke up going, God, just please. Or every day I went to bed going, I hope I don't wake up. And every morning I woke up, I'm screaming, F you, God, I don't want to be here. So I know alcohol no longer works. And now what I think AA is, no longer works. And the book talks about a loneliness that only an alcoholic knows. And that loneliness happened to me, and I said my first honest prayer in Alcoholics Anonymous, I said, God, please help me. Please help me. And a few weeks later, I had a sponsor that was very mean. So the first time I meet this guy, I show up, and I have pants and a t-shirt on. The shirt has a little rip in it. Okay? And he walks up to me, and he goes, you're an AA now, dress like it. This mother, who does he think he's talking to? And so then he comes back to me, like 5 minutes after that, he goes, hey, if you need some money for clothes, let's go to Salvation Army, and we'll buy you some clothes. You don't think I can afford clothes? So somehow I asked him to be my sponsor, and I don't know why. And this is the first page. This is all you know about Alcoholics Anonymous. And if you know the hard cover book, that first page is completely blinding. And he said, "You asked me to sponsor you. I did not ask you to sponsor me." And it was people like him and other people that I could talk about for hours here that took the time. They cared more about saving my life than they did about hurting my feelings. I've gotten hit in the back of the head with a hat. I've gotten hit with big hooks, a cane. Tell me to shut up, kid. And I look back and I go, thank God these guys told me that stuff. I was out, there was a men's meeting, and I'm sitting there, and we're out on this porch, and we're all lying about how tough we were, about all these fights I've been in, and we joke around. I've never won a fight in my life. I learned at a very early age that I am not a big person. However, when I get drunk, every muscle in my body gets slower except my mouth. I get faster and I get knocked out. I can take out my teeth right now. And we're sitting there lying about all this stuff, and a guy walks and he goes, "You want to see tough kid?" He goes, "That's a tough guy right there." And there was this guy and this little girl. And the guy had a pink backpack on, and they're walking down the street. He goes, "That's a tough guy there because he's doing what he needs to do." He goes, "You guys are sitting here being worthless. That guy's doing the job. He's doing the deal of life." And these are the little things I learned that were taught to me as a kid by my parents. They were taught to me. I just didn't listen or didn't understand or didn't hear anything that was happening at the time. And we go through the steps, and I like to say, I have this carpool lane about Alcoholics Anonymous, and I caught fire with this thing and fell in love with Alcoholics Anonymous. And I see, I'm sitting there at work one day, and I'm checking out. So I went to a different middle school, but I was in contact with, I looked up the Facebook page or whatever at the time it was, of the middle school I went to see what the kids were doing I knew, and I saw this girl that was dated in 6th grade. We were each other's first kiss. Now, dating in 6th grade, you hold hands between classes, and not much happens, And I said, you want to go? Hey, I'd love to talk to you. I don't know if you remember me. I'd love to sit down and talk to you. She goes, "Yeah, that's great. Let's meet. Let's have a few drinks and we'll go to a bar." I said, "That's a funny story. Let's go meet ice cream." And she tells a story. She goes, "I looked at that email and said, what the hell is he doing with ice cream? What 24-year-old girl that gets ice cream? He's weird, Not far off, but and we start talking, and like I said, and I'm scared to death of girls. You could be butt naked in my bed saying, "Joe, I want to have sex with you," and I'd be like, maybe if I play my cards right, I might have a shot. I'm not a closer. And we went out to dinner one night, and she gave me a hug that lasted just a hair second too long, and I caught a sign for the first time in my life, and I fell head over heels in love with this girl. And we went and we started dating, and about 5 months later, 6 months later, she comes to me, and she comes storming in the house. I'm like, "Geez, what's going on?" And she goes, "I'm pregnant." And I said, "Okay." And "Are you sure?" Said, I've taken at that time, I think it was 3 tests. I said, "Do we need some more?" And I didn't realize that there are no false positives. There are only false negatives. And even, I mean, I'm such an idiot. We're going to deliver this little girl, and I'm sitting there going, "Are you sure she's pregnant?" You know, like, and we get married. We went to, it was one of the, and I gotta be careful how I say this because I don't want to sound like I got married because I was having a child. I had known this girl since we were 11 years old, and I was absolutely head over heels. I needed something like going to AA. I need something to push me in that direction and make a smart decision. And we go and get married, and then 5 months later, we're delivering this little girl. We're down in Clearwater, and they induce her, and I could be a little off on my times, and I don't want to over-exaggerate it, but I think she was in labor for 30 hours. She was having contractions for 30 hours. And at this time, I'm not sleeping either, because she's not letting me sleep. I'm nervous, I need my sleep. And she starts pushing in 3.5 hours on the table. She's pushing her head. My daughter, her head gets stuck in my wife's pelvis. My wife fights 103 fever on the table, and they pull her out with forceps, and I'm looking at this little girl, and my wife's holding her, and she turns purple. She stops breathing. She caught my wife's infection. She caught it, and they rushed her off to the NICU. And I was ashamed to say this for a long time, until someone else in AA said it the exact same way. That was a great experience. Childbirth is one of the most. It is so amazing what happens and what women do in there that I can't comprehend. But as a guy who has done nothing, really, I have no connection to this kid. Where a woman has carried this little person for 9 months, I have no connection, and so there's no connection there. It was a neat experience. I was like, I felt shame for a long time that I didn't love this girl because there was no connection. And so we walk into the NICU, and this little girl's she's in the little crib, and she has a heat lamp on her, and I'm in there by myself at night one time, and I looked at her, and I said, God, please, if you let her live, just take me out. I'm more than happy to do that. And I stopped for a second. I said, do you realize what you just said? Like, for the first time in my life, I cared more about another human being than I did myself. And I felt head over heels in love with this little girl. She was 2 years old, and 6 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, and she runs up on, and I can feel her getting up on the bed, and she just sits there, she straddles me, and then just drops on me, right on my chest. 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm not happy. And I open my eyes, and she's this close to me. And she goes, I love you, Daddy. What do I owe you for that? What do I owe you guys for giving me this life? 16 months after she was born, we're going to thing again. We're going back to the hospital. We're delivering a little boy. Everything's great. They pull him out. Last thing the doctor says is, hey, you might want to check out his ear. There's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with his ear. And he was born with a thing called microtia, which is a little ear. He has no hole, can't hear out of his left side. And my first instinct is, hey, that's a pretty good deal if this is the worst thing that happens to this kid. And now I'm in a meeting about 3 weeks after that, 4 weeks after that, and we're talking about acceptance as the topic. And that's a touchy subject for me. And someone says, I just have to accept the fact I don't have a job, and I just have to accept This is life on life's terms. And I had been doing research for this little boy, and I went to a doctor about his ear, and the doctor says, hey, there's nothing I can do for him until he turns 5. I said, okay. I go to a different doctor. They say the same thing. I read online. You know, acceptance for me is when I use every human power I'm capable of using. When I use all that, and then there's still no, like I can't get an answer. He can't do something until he's 5. Okay, I can accept that. That's when acceptance comes in for me. You know, and so he's a piece of work. So we go, and we're going through life, and I'm sitting there at home one night playing, you know, I'm living the life. I mean, I'm living the life that everybody, that I hear stories about in Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm living that same exact life, and life is great. You know, and I was sitting at home one night with my daughter, and we're playing Minecraft. And I was sitting there, and I looked at her, and I said, how do you, I'm a loser. Okay, I'm a loser. I don't do anything. I'm lazy. I'm a 90-yard sprinter in a 100-yard race. I have probably 20 projects in my house right now. None of them are complete. They're all about 90% done, you know. And I sat there and I looked at this girl, and I said, how do you get there? How do you get there? You know, I mean, it's absolutely amazing. My mom calls me and says, hey, have you seen your dad? I said, no, I haven't seen him. I talked to him yesterday. She goes, it's been a while, you know, and it's like 6, 7 o'clock at night. I said, all right, let me go by his office. I live like 2 minutes away. And so me and my daughter hopped in and I said, let's go see Grandpa's office. You know, it's not uncommon for him to work late, and so we drive over there, and he's not at that office. And I go to another office that he might be at, and he's not there. So I said, let me check the hospital. I go up to Trinity Hospital. I said, hey, is John Hudson there? I said, do you have a patient, John Hudson? No, I don't know what happened. And the lady said, yes. And I'm with my daughter, and my daughter's hand grabs me, and she starts shaking, and like 10 seconds later, the lady goes, oh, I'm sorry, it was the wrong person. Like, I thought it was that same name. And so I drop my daughter off at a friend's house, and I go to my mom's house, and we're wondering where he's at, and I finally talk my mom into unlocking his phone so I can see. And he had been going through stuff, nothing out of the ordinary. You know, and I unlocked his phone to see his location on the phone, and I see it, and you know, but you don't want to know. I see where he's at, and me and my cousin go in there, and we start driving, and we're going down East Lake Boulevard, going about 90, and we're coming up on it. I said, you know, this isn't going to end well. This isn't going to end well. And we pull around the corner, and I see the lights. I see the flashing lights. I see my dad's car, and I said, maybe we got a shot there, and we pull around the corner, and I see a white sheet on the ground, and we come racing up there, and so they're very standoffish at this point, and I walk up there, and I said, I think that's my dad, and they said, who are you? I said, my name's Joe Hudson. I said, I think that's John Hudson, and he goes, yes it is, and I said, can you tell me what happened? He said, well, I said, let me ask you a question. Did he take his own life? I said, yeah. They said, yes. And so this is June 9th, 2016. This happens, and I drive back to my mom's house. We go there and go back to my mom's house, and I'm up all night, and you know, everybody's crying, and I said, you know, Friday night, it's Thursday night, Friday night we have this home group here, you know, I texted these guys in here, and I said, hey, I might not make it tomorrow. My dad just passed away. Just let you know. 5:30 in the morning, I get a call. He's like, hey man, how you doing? Sean calls. Chris, Kyle, Eric, they all start calling me at 5:30 in the morning. My phone's dead by 12. Again, what do I owe you? How can I sit here and not be amazed by what happens in Alcoholics Anonymous? Because you guys took the time out of your days to save my life when it meant absolutely nothing. And people start showing up, asking, what can I do, what can I do, what can I do, for you, and we got through it, and for the next 6 months in Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm an absolute waste of space in here. I'm just sitting in my chair. Right there. Second one in a row. I'm sitting there every night. Every Friday night. How you doing, Joe? I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. I don't see it, but something's going on inside me that's just not doing good, and I go through 6 months, and finally my wife comes up to me one day, she goes, Joe, I can't do this anymore, you're killing me. I can't live like this anymore. And she said the absolute, some of the worst words I've ever heard. She goes, I can't do this anymore, and I've called your sponsor. Divorce me, please. And he's expecting your call. So then, the jerks in this home group decide that they're going to make me the speaker seeker. Like I said, I'm doing nothing. And they care more about saving my life than they do about hurting my feelings. And they made me a speaker seeker, and I started talking. And at the time, I asked a guy from Palm Coast if he'd come down and speak, and he said, yeah, I think I have an office by there. I said, what do you do? He said, I sell hearing aids. What do you do? I said, I build houses, don't want to do it anymore. He said, great, I'll see you there. And, I talked to him, and I started doing hearing aids, and like 6 months after that, they asked me to move down to Sarasota and take over that office, and it's amazing. So I moved down to Sarasota, and after meeting, I think like 30 people show up to move me down to Sarasota. After this meeting, you all come over, and my best friend I grew up with, he's there with me. He flew down to help me move. And he's like, Joe, who are all these people? I said, oh, they're from the meeting. I said, in fact, I'm looking around, and I go, there's probably, at least 25 to 50 years of jail time. It's in my house right now, and I'm not. And I said to them, I go, and these are the people that if I need someone to watch my kids, I would be more than happy to let them watch my kids. And moved down there, and when it's crazy how things work, because I ended up going to the meeting the day after my dad died. I go to the meeting, and the speakers, there's 2 speakers from Sarasota that come in to talk. One is Jim, and the other is Matar. And we're sitting there, and now I'm moving down to Sarasota, and all of a sudden I got a person I can contact. So I start going around to the meetings there, and the hard thing, and I'm sure a lot of people have in here, but the hard thing in AA is, no one likes change in here. So I go down there, and they don't do meetings right. They're just a little bit different. And then you start seeing people that, oh, that's Chris. That's you start naming off, and it's just not as good. It's just not as good. And you have to retrain yourself to sit there and become a newcomer, and just start going to meetings and introducing yourself and putting yourself out there. And, and life got good. Life got good. It changed, and it became an amazing thing. And, so I'm going through, and I go and change companies, to work for, and I go on, it's one of those things that looking back, I can see it now, but sometimes, I believe that throughout sobriety, my sobriety has just been ups and downs. They're far less than they were before. But you get into those little things where you make decisions based upon self. And one of them was, I'm chasing money at this point, and I make a decision that, looking back, I know I should have made. I was chasing some money, and I go to work for a new company, and 45 days later, I get let go from a company, and it's amazing what AA does for you, and I had something that I could just immerse myself in, and AA taught me to do the steps that I needed to correct the situation. So I started applying to jobs, and I'm sitting there applying to 10, 15, 20 jobs a day, and finally I get another job, and I move, and my life is still good. I'm unemployed, I have no money, I'm going to a food bank to get food. And I'm sitting there at home with my kids and wife after they get back from school, and we're having a good time. And it took me a second to realize that, situation, just because financially life's not okay, I knew I was okay. That big book talks about the promises of financial insecurity will leave us. I'm broke. And I was still okay. I look, because you start looking back on those things, like when I'm in rehab, and you're sitting there going, man, this sucks, or when you're new in sobriety, you're going, this sucks. I look back on those times going, wow, that was awesome times. Because here's a little thing that anybody who doesn't, you don't quite understand yet, is as long as you don't drink, you can pretty much do whatever you want. The longer you're sober, that road narrows, and the more uncomfortable I get. And life is okay, and life's still okay. My kids, so my daughter's 17 now, my son's 16, and, I said he's a piece of work. He hates the fact that he has 1 ear, so we go to buy him headphones, and you have to buy 2 AirPods. And he's like, I only need one. I don't want two. And so I got him a hearing aid to listen to music, and he's listening to music and running around the house. And pretty soon I see him, he's wearing it everywhere. And I look at him, and my daughter goes, do you wear that? Oh, he goes, I never take it off. She goes, you wear it to school? He goes, yeah. She goes, do kids make fun of you in school for only having 1 ear and wearing a hearing aid? And he didn't realize, I was sitting there with him, and he goes, no, it's great. He goes, I listen to music all day, and the teachers can't take it away from me because they think I need it for hearing. I think kids are God's way of being even with you. Like 3 weeks after this, he comes to me and he goes, Dad, I think I'm going to apply for disability. I said, what do you mean? Because I want to apply for disability at school. Because my buddy, he applies for disability, he gets all his notes taken for him. I said, man, you're just lazy. You don't need to take it. But I said, you know what? I go, as your dad, as your dad, I cannot tell you to do this. Okay, I'm not gonna help you with it. I said, but if you want to do it on your own, sure, go ahead. You know, and so a few weeks after that, I was like, hey, how's that? Did you apply for this school? He goes, yeah, I didn't get it. So what happened? He goes, well, they asked me, you know, do you have trouble hearing in classrooms? And I said, yes. And then they asked me, well, do you move to where you can hear? And I said, yes. And he said, well, you don't need it then. And I'm sitting there going, oh, buddy. You know, I'm so happy and thankful that you're honest. Like, I didn't tell him this. I was just sitting there thinking, I'm happy and thankful that he was being honest with them and told them exactly what's happening. But the alcoholic or the conniving part of me goes, buddy, you just have to know how to stretch. How do you know I can hear? I don't know if I can hear. You know, and my daughter is an absolute, just amazing person. I don't understand her. She does homework. She goes out. And she comes home not drunk. You know, she doesn't drive home that way. She's just a good kid, you know, and I don't know how that happened. All I can say is thank God for my wife, you know, because she did amazing things with it. And, you know, today, I mean, like I said, it's ups and downs, and the past month and a half hasn't been the greatest thing. You know, just nothing bad happens, but it's just life, you know, and I'm okay with it. I break my toe, my daughter drives through a puddle, her car stops, it seized up, her car is totaled. My car, she then drives my car, and the engine breaks on it, and that's $2,000, and you know, fixed. And then my wife's car goes, and you know, you start seeing that financial insecurity start hunting back into you. But you look back and you go, you know, it's going to be okay. You know, I just know that things happen in life. It's not always, you know, I heard very early on here, every meal's not a banquet, every day's not a holiday. You know, and I have to remember and do the next right thing and just keep on going and slugging it. I live a life today that I will trade with anybody in here. And for a guy that was jealous of other people and wanted everything done for him, I used to think that I should have been born as a trust fund baby. That's what I wanted to be when I grew up, a trust fund baby. But I go home after a long day's work, and my wife hugs me and kisses me and says she loves me. My kids, when they're there, they hug me and say they love me. You know, and I sit there and go, how does this happen? How does this happen? How does a guy that wasn't accountable for anything come back and just be a decent human being? My mom is an absolute, you know, hero of mine, and it's amazing, like, she used to be scared, you know, like, she did not like having to say how I was. And growing up, she did not like taking phone calls because she knew that something may happen to me and the sleepless nights that she had. And now she sits here asking, hey Joe, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? You know? And it just absolutely amazes me. And I'm gonna close with this. I know it's early, but I'll give you a few minutes back. My mom's been in a few meetings, not many in here. And she knows that the idea is to, you know, just help people in here. And if she knows nothing about other than that. And I asked her one time, I go, Mom, what do you think about Alcoholics Anonymous? She goes, it's the greatest thing that's ever happened because it saved my son's So on behalf of my mom and my family, I want to thank you for my sobriety. Thank you.